You're listening to the Cinemental Podcast.
Shall we begin?
Welcome back to the Cinemental Podcast, where we discuss mental health themes from cinema, television, and popular culture. I'm Jeffrey Jones, and I'm a filmmaker and professor, and I'm joined, as always, by my brother, Dr. Joshua Jones, who, as well as being a huge fan of all movies before 1980, is a general and forensic psychiatrist.
I don't think that's true about me. I mean, I am a general and forensic psychiatrist, but I don't like all movies before 1980.
You are really old. We want you to start your week off right with our podcast, so we drop a new episode every Monday and Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern. You can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, or you can watch our hottest and spiciest clips and now full episodes on the YouTubes. Josh, today we are talking about Alien, and I am very excited for Alien. I forgot how good of a movie this was.
Yeah, completely agree. Sure, made in 1979. You're going to talk about why that is okay with your no movies before 1980
Don't
thing.
give that away. Don't give that away.
I just did.
I know you did. God,
all right.
damn it.
Well, I'm going to... No, you're going to talk more about it. It's called teasing, Jeff. Look, Jeff...
It's such a ridiculous premise, though, of mine.
Business, Jeff, it's called teasing.
Okay.
Okay. No, I love this movie for many reasons. It spawned a great franchise.
Yeah.
I actually love Aliens, the second one, more, but this movie is so tense. It is so taut. Look, for you younger folks, it's probably okay if you watch it on 1.25 speed, because it is a little slow, is mark of the time, but God, what a great movie.
I have never watched a movie faster than normal speed. Have you?
Yeah.
Does it disrupt the flow at all?
Look, I'm not a filmmaker like you are, but I don't think that it does. I mean,
interesting, because directors hate that shit. They're like, you watch it the way I intended it, or don't watch it at all.
Completely agree. It's like when I talk to patients and say, look, this is your treatment plan. I think you should follow it. It will do you good. And they say, well, I'm not going to do that, and I'm not going to do that. I'm like, all right. I mean,
or if they're like, he told me to take one pill, but I'm going to take 1.5 to speed this along.
Right. That doesn't work. Folks, don't do that.
Yeah. All right. So we're talking about Alien. If you haven't seen it, this movie is about a lovable cyborg named Ash. He's dutiful, fun-loving, and he gets sent by a corporation trying to help people through weapons development to a planet that might house a new organism. But when Ash meets corporate saboteur Ripley, she thwarts his plans and ultimately kills Ash and the innocent alien species.
Jeff, I love your alternate takes on the plots of movies. I think it probably just speaks to my personality and my character that the only thing I can pay attention to from your alternate thing there is that Ash is not a cyborg. He is not a cyborg.
Is he not? How do you define a cyborg?
A cyborg is part human, part machine.
Oh, yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Well said. So, he's a synthetic life form, basically, right?
So he's a robot.
Yeah, synthetic robot. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that correction, Josh. We want to get things right here at the Cinemental Podcast.
I don't want people to at you, Jeff. I don't want them to at you.
I appreciate that. Let's get into the topics of the day. Tell people how we're going to talk about mental health when we talk about the movie Alien, because there's some good stuff here. There's some stuff that's going to surprise you.
We're going to talk about lying. We're going to talk about trust. And we're going to talk about corporations and AI a lot and how they can impact and are impacting our mental health today.
Yeah, we're going to get into some filmmaking as well, which I'm excited to talk about. I want to talk about the chest hugger, the face hugger, chest blowing out
chest
scene.
Bursting scene, I think is what you're looking for.
Yes, it is. Okay, if you haven't seen this movie, the real summary. The crew of the Nostromo are awakened from stasis to investigate a mysterious transmission from a desolate moon. While exploring, they find a chamber filled with alien eggs, one of which unleashes a face-hugging creature that attacks one of the crew. After bringing him back on the ship, an alien bursts through his chest, unleashing a lethal new life form aboard the ship. That lethal new life form spawned 25 movies. As the alien grows rapidly into a towering predator, yes, Alien versus Predator vibes here, the alien hunts the crew. Tensions rise as Warrant Officer Ellen Ripley, played by Sigourney Weaver, uncovers that the company's real priority is retrieving the organism at any cost, even if it means sacrificing the crew. With their shipmates dead and the company's android Ash revealed as complicit, Ripley faces the creature alone, shoving him into an airlock in her skivvies, catapulting her into stardom as one of science fiction's most iconic heroes. Josh, I feel like the first thing that we need to talk about when it comes to this movie is the chest bursting scene. I think that's the most famous scene in Alien. Would you agree?
Absolutely is. It's been parodied several times. It's a pretty big scene. And I bet seeing it for the first time for theater goers in 1979 was pretty jarring.
Yeah. Here's something I found really interesting about that scene. One of the writers of the movie had Crohn's disease. As a way of trying to explain Crohn's disease to an audience, he came up with the chest bursting scene because Crohn's disease is so awful and so like an out-of-body painful, it just doesn't feel like you're in control of your body and you have this pain, that the best way that he could describe it was this alien chest bursting. I feel like more medicine needs to use these sorts of analogies because now I really get it.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. So
that's got to be a nightmare. What do people with Crohn's disease go through? Is this an apt explanation? I know you don't have it, but I'm sure you have a lot of experience with it. Just tell me a little bit about Crohn's disease.
Crohn's disease is an autoimmune disorder, so where the body's own immune system attacks part of it. And so it's specifically attacking the lining of the gut. Basically, folks with Crohn's disease are in constant inflammation. They're shedding their shells. They're not taking in nutrients the proper way. And by all accounts, it is incredibly painful. There's an associated illness called ulcerative colitis that is very similar, and people describe their insides as being on fire. Fortunately, there's a whole host of new medications that have been developed, since 1979 that help people with Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis really reduce their symptoms.
Since 1979? Is it because of Alien?
I don't think so.
That's one heck of a coincidence.
Heck of a coincidence. I mean, lots of things have happened since 1979.
I think doctors saw that movie and it's like, yeah, we need to solve that.
So Barack Obama was elected as the first black president because of the Alien? Since it happened since 1979? Is that what you're telling me?
Barack Obama was not elected president in 1979, Josh.
No. Correlation does not equal causation.
I love getting that sigh out of you. It's just fantastic.
Correlation does not equal causation. But if you're trying to say, hey, this is what Crohn's disease feels like, good job. I mean, it looks awful. Very few people with Crohn's disease do, however, develop end-stage Crohn's disease where an alien bursts from your chest.
Oh, that would be awful. Oh.
Yeah, the whole thing was awful. The whole scene was awful. And watching it, they were just having their last meal before they were going to go back into cryosleep.
Yeah.
And this thing just starts happening to the guy. Which, by the way, I will point out, Jeff, I've got a question to ask you about the chest bursting scene, but I will point out that the character who did get the face hugger on him, if you watch him, he makes every bad decision in a movie. He's like, oh, let's go down this dark hole. Oh, let's look into this mist-covered, a field of eggs. Oh, let's put my face right down here next to this opening egg. I mean, come on. Now, look, I know we know now because of Alien, don't do any of those things, but he kind of deserved it.
There's such a theme in all of the Alien movies that does kind of bother me. I actually don't think that they made too many poor choices in Aliens, but like thinking about Prometheus, it's just like one bad decision after another, where they're just like, I'm going to escape back to the ship. And then they get lost, which doesn't make any sense because they had the whole thing mapped. Yeah. And then they're like, oh, look at this little cute creature. I'm just going to give him my hand. I mean, it's just one bad decision after the other, which is, true of horror movies in general, I guess. But you are just like, come on, man.
Back to the chest bursting scene, though, Jeff. Yeah. It was definitely a surprise to me, and it was a shock to people watching the film in 1979. Yeah. But it's been said that they actually didn't tell the actors this was going to happen, and it was a surprise to them.
Yeah.
Is that an accepted filmmaking technique?
It's so funny because it is and it isn't. There are certain things that are completely off limits, and then there's certain things that are fine and accepted. And a lot of it just depends on the actor. And you can ask the actor in advance, can we surprise you? And this is actually what happened in Alien, is that they knew something was going to happen. They just didn't know what it was going to be. And there's actually a scene where one of the actors gets blood sprayed on her face. And she was completely unaware that that was going to happen. And then there's another scene where a character slaps another character and they did not know that they were going to get slapped. And it's a real fine line because, a slap is an assault, Sure. I mean, unless it's during the Oscars and then apparently it's fine. But there's a real fine line about what you can and can't do. And one of the places where it's absolutely not okay is during any sort of intimate scene.
Yeah.
That is off limits. We now have protections against that. But depending on your actor, it's acceptable because nobody cries foul. And I think in this case, nobody cried foul because one, it was a much earlier time where you just had to accept things. And two, they were aware that at least something was going to happen. But there are actors who talk all the time about another actor improving. I think in Wolf of Wall Street, somebody hit somebody slapped somebody because they were just feeling the scene. And it really pissed off the other actor. They had to work that out. They had to, sit with the director and be like, look, that's not okay. And ultimately used the clip. It's a real fine line. But as a director, even myself, there have been times where I'm like, I don't want to tell this person what's coming because I want a genuine reaction. And so you just have to have a lot of trust in your director. You have to have trust in your actors. So it is both ethical and unethical.
Okay, I guess I kind of get that. But based on something you said, you want an authentic reaction from your actors. Isn't that what actors are supposed to be able to generate?
That's exactly right,
because of
Josh.
their acting skill.
That's exactly right. And that's the point. That's the point that people who are like, against this sort of thing would make. And I would make that argument as well. That being said, there is something really fun about the authenticity of a surprise. And actors are amazing, but sometimes you can tell when something is just like completely a human reaction instead of a fake reaction, an acted reaction. But that is certainly the argument against it, is just let the actors do their job. But people feel so fancy when they surprise their actor and the actor does what they want them to. And then they're like, great job. I'm so glad I made that choice to scare you. It's like, well, yeah. I mean, one of the really problematic ones was Shelley Duvall from The Shining.
Yeah,
they
I've heard
were
about this.
Constantly sort of torturing her psychologically with all the things that they were doing to her that she didn't know about. And she quit the business after that movie. I mean, that was really, really problematic. So, there are certainly times when people cross the line and you have to be careful about that. And you truly have to be careful. And the best way to sum it up is just you have to have trust and you have to build in, hey, I'm going to surprise you. Is that okay? I'm going to sometimes do things that are going to shock you and you're not going to be aware of. Is that okay? And then if someone says yes, then you can go about it, but you still have to do it in the most ethical way possible. Try not to push the boundaries too hard, but that's basically the answer.
Boy, Jeff, the more we do this podcast and the more I learn about the business side, the real world side of making movies, I'll be honest with you, sometimes I'm pretty uncomfortable with how movies get made. This is kind of one of those times. I mean, as you're talking about having this authentic, supposed authentic reaction in the midst of acting, it makes me a little squeamish from somebody who, is very much about consent, somebody who's very much about the knowing participation of people to have the capacity to make their decisions, and learning just how much of a power differential there is between studios, directors, and actors, even those actors that we think are super, super powerful. It makes me squeamish, and this is kind of icky.
There's no doubt. I mean, it is problematic. But again, it's like, where's the line? This has nothing to do with surprising an actor, but one of my least favorite Hollywood stories happened a few years ago, and there was a woman who was killed on a set because the producers didn't accurately schedule when they were going to shoot, along with the train schedule. These, just lowly kind of PAs or production people were on the bridge as this train came, and one of the girls got killed. And the producers, after this happened, gathered everyone together and said, she would want us to complete this film. And the production people said, no, she'd want to be alive. Right? Like, you guys killed her. Like, this was not a mistake. This is negligence. This is a negligent homicide. And that is accurate. But, like, people want to do things. They want to do them on the cheap. and they don't really think about, the human cost of things. And so when you're a director and you're not thinking about the human cost of what surprising someone is going to do to them and to their mental health, that's when it gets problematic to me. But there are actors who are like, slap me, do it. I'm into this. Like, let's get an authentic reaction where they hit me in the face. And I'm like, okay, sure, let's do it. Why not? If you're open to it, even though it might be wrong, it's like we're making art here and we're all trusting each other and so let's do it.
But again, as you described there, that's consensual and that's knowing and that's like, okay, that's fine to me.
Yeah. So the last thing I want to cover with the chest bursting scene, I have this thing, and it's a little tongue in cheek, but I say to my students that I won't watch any movie before 1980 because it's just unnecessary, and there are better films and films that like I want to watch. There's so many films that are kind of current that I won't go back past 1980. And I say this just to infuriate people. And they're like, so you won't watch The Godfather? I'm like, no, you idiot. I've seen The Godfather. I've seen all the movies, which is why I have the rule. I've seen all the Kurosawas. I've seen all the movies I need to see. My point is, you can look to modern movies just as much as you can look to old movies. I don't think people need to see Citizen Kane anymore. I don't think people need to see Casablanca. Like, it's just old. You can be a master auteur without seeing these movies. That being said, the chest bursting scene from Alien is worth just ticking that down 1 year and watching movies from 1979. So watch Alien, watch Star Wars. There are some movies in the 70s, but I have that rule, and it kind of cracks people up that like I don't watch anything before the 80s. All right, let's move on from the chest bursting. This I thought was interesting, Josh, and I thought I don't know if there's anything mental health here, but there was a moment in the beginning where they don't follow their own quarantine procedure.
Yeah.
And I just didn't buy this. This is in the future. These people are space travelers. They're dealing with all sorts of stuff that's weird and funky. And Tom Skerritt, who's the captain, allows this person back on board without quarantining them, who has just been attacked by an alien. I didn't believe that. And Ripley is the only person who has any sort of sense, and she gets overridden by Ash.
Yeah, the science officer, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was just, that one was tough to believe. From a science standpoint, from a medical standpoint, that's just wholly inappropriate, right?
Absolutely. And NASA and I assume the other space organizations and other countries have thought about this kind of stuff. And if this was to happen in real world, I mean, they take contamination very, very seriously. When the first astronauts came back from the moon, they were in quarantine for several days, even though they had no exposure to the exterior of the moon, just getting in and out of the airlock. They're like, hey, we can take no chances. I mean, if and when we finally do go to Mars, there will be rigorous protocols put into place to make sure that nothing that we can't detect doesn't get back to Earth from Mars, or vice versa, quite honestly.
Do you think that's true, though, because people have seen Alien?
I mean, I think Alien and other movies like it certainly are like, yeah, we should have quarantine. I mean, stuff could go really, really, really bad.
Yeah.
I think to talk about this scene in proper context, you have to talk about how they built the world in Alien. We take it for granted because, as you said, there's been, umpteen dozen Alien movies and now even a TV series, Alien Earth, that is out. And so the world, the universe of Alien is pretty well known to us by now. But Ridley Scott was building it from scratch. And so he purposely created right up front a universe in which humans are a spacefaring race. Right. We go everywhere. I mean, this crew, they're nothing special.
Right.
They're workers.
Yeah.
They're workers who are piloting the Nostromo, which is a tug pulling a giant barge of ore. I mean, that's all they're doing. They're not explorers. The first time we see them interact, they are actually having an argument about their contracts. So it's very real world. These are just people trying to get by. And,
that's a great point.
And then Tom Skerritt's character is the captain, Dallas, is portrayed. He's tired. He just wants to get home.
Right.
I actually totally bought that he'd just be like, this is my friend. We got to get him inside. He's hurt. I don't care. He's probably seen numerous times where the protocols were like, whatever.
That's a great point. That makes total sense because these guys weren't scientists. They happened to have a science officer on board. They were given a science officer, and they say like he was, replaced 3 days before. I think that if you're anybody on board the ship and your science officer overrides that, which is obviously a scientific thing, you'd probably have a little bit of a pause. So yeah, and you mentioned, obviously Tom Skerritt, he's the pilot. I thought it was really fascinating when Ripley finds out that Tom Skerritt isn't really the captain of this ship and that he's taking orders from Mother or from, the company that's paying them.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really interesting because it made me think about like who is ultimately in charge of somebody's safety and ability. And it reminds me of our current healthcare system where the doctors are not really in charge because they're beholden to the insurance companies. And full disclosure, I have a blood clot right now. And I had a problem getting my medication because the healthcare company was like, let's just put a pause on this. It's like, I have a ticking time bomb in my leg. And my doctor's like, you need this medication. And the corporation says no. Anytime the person who should be in control isn't, we need to solve that.
Yeah. Really great points. And we're going to talk on Wednesday's episode about the dangers of AI and about the corporate use of AI. Right. But Jeff, this is a really great opportunity to talk about, some of the protections that have been put in place around the corporate practice of medicine. So many states have said, hey, we think that the healthcare decision should be between the doctor and their patient. And
is California one of them?
I don't know that for a fact. I believe it probably is. I believe it is. California is actually one of the only states where hospitals can't directly employ physicians. So every physician that you heard me correctly. So every physician who works in a hospital down in California seeing patients isn't directly employed by the hospital. They're part of a medical group that can be contracted to the hospital or has privileges there. But unlike most other states, they can't directly be employees of the hospital. Probably to try to stamp out the corporate practice of medicine, where entities beyond the doctor-patient relationship are driving the decisions that are being
so it's not the hospital that's driving it, trying to save money for the hospital. It's
right, exactly.
Okay, well,
exactly.
Okay, I like that because the only problem with that is every time I've gone to the hospital, everybody says make sure that the doctor who's seeing you in the moment takes your health insurance.
Well, sure. So this is the loophole.
I mean, that's a massive problem.
Yeah, this is the loophole for the corporate practice of medicine is that the decisions about how to treat you are between you and your doctor. And that was really where this prohibition against the corporate practice of medicine was generated from. You have to be given the choices by your doctor. Hey, here's what I really think you should do. Not being told by a corporation. Don't even give them that option. But where that falls down now is that, you have this option. You can go forward with it, but your insurance may or may not pay for it. So really, Jeff, it's your choice whether you're going to spend $30,000 or you're going to wait for your insurance to decide to do it.
I just don't understand how anybody can believe that the best way to do healthcare is to put it in the hands of people whose job it is to maximize corporate profits.
Well, that is, I mean, we can go off and off and off about that. I do want to get back to Ridley's response to learning from Tom Skerritt that they're part of a corporation.
Sure.
This is the first Alien movie. Anybody who's into Alien and Aliens has seen all the rest of the movies over the, so we know Ripley develops into this just hardcore badass.
Mm-hmm.
But in this movie, she's incredibly naive.
Right.
Probably a fairly young third officer, and definitely doesn't have enough experience with Tom Skerritt, doesn't understand how their world works, really doesn't understand how the power structure works, and believes that, this is how we do it by the book.
Right.
I see so many of those folks as young leaders. That naivete, it's good in some ways. It makes you want to, you're not jaded. You want to do
because
the
they
right
want to do the
thing,
best medicine. They haven't learned that there's a political side of doing the best medicine.
And there shouldn't be, but there is.
I completely agree with you that there shouldn't be. The thing is that there will always be some sort of political side. There kind of has to be. Like when you're at an upper level, like there's just things to navigate. Nothing can be pure. There's too many people involved. There's too many moving parts. So, if you want to be any sort of a manager or a managerial level, you got to learn the political game in some regards.
Jeff, the last time that there were no political considerations in humankind was when Adam was sitting all alone by himself.
100%. That's a great segue into something I want to talk about with Ripley's naivete. I was thinking about this as I was watching the movie, and I was like, oh, this is essentially just a monster in a house movie. This is just a common setup for a horror film. There's a bunch of people and they're in a house and they find a monster in the house and it kills everybody but the woman. And it's usually the women who survive these things, a la, Halloween. I mean, there's a bunch of examples. And so oftentimes Ridley Scott gets sort of touted as the guy who, was like, hey, I want to make an action movie, but I want to have it star a woman. And I think that's amazing. One of Ridley Scott's, earlier films as well was Thelma and Louise with two, very strong female characters. But I do find it interesting that this is more of a monster in a house where it was historically a woman versus an action film where they chose a woman instead. So I don't know how I feel about that because I've always thought, hey, good for you, Ridley. You cast a woman. But no, this was just a monster in a house movie.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point. And it was, again, with the benefit of hindsight, she really becomes the badass action star in Aliens.
Right.
I mean, that's when she really, really makes that transition. And again, I mean, that was a fabulous movie. Better than this one, I think. But yeah, you're right. And, something else you've taught me, and I know you teach your students, is that write what you know, but then put it in space. And that's,
absolutely.
That's what happened here.
That's all you that people are like, oh, I don't know how to write science fiction. I'm like, yes, you do. Just write a story and then put it in space. That's literally it. That's all you have to do. Josh, the last thing I just want to mention, and again, find the mental health here for me so that this isn't a wasted thing to talk about. So Ripley finds out Order 937. She's now the captain of the ship because everybody else has died. She discovers Order 937, which is for the science officer only. Save this alien at all costs, even if it means the crew. They also don't know yet that he's a synthetic life form. They think he's just a regular human. They don't know yet. And then they bash his head in. And they're like, oh man, he's a robot. Her anger needs to be with the company and not with Ash, because Ash was just following orders. And I'm sure they know what a robot is. And a robot's just going to follow their programming. It's the company that really screwed her over. And yet she decides to go back in Aliens when Paul Reiser, a company man, comes to her and says, hey, we need you to go back to this planet. Fool me once, shame on you, Josh. Fool me twice, shame on me. In Aliens, she's scared of Lance Henriksen, who's the synthetic, when she should be afraid of Paul Reiser. She makes a terrible choice there. That is a terrible choice leading into Aliens, and I didn't think about it until I rewatched Alien.
So we're going to have to do Aliens in a future podcast because I've got lots and lots of things to say about it. But I remember this differently. She got manipulated into going back with the company. They basically said, look, you've been dead. Your parents are dead. You've been in cryostasis for a long time. You could help us, or you could basically be homeless and destitute.
Oh, is that what it was?
That's exactly what it was.
Oh.
She didn't want to go back. She wasn't at all interested in going back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just remember her hating Lance Henriksen in that. And I was like, man, Linda Hamilton in Terminator 2 saw the Terminator, freaked out. And then when he was like, come with me if you want to live. She's like, oh, okay, this guy's on my side. And now I fully trust him. You got to just trust robots to do what they're programmed to do.
That is a fabulous segue into our Wednesday episode, because I am going to tell you that you are dead wrong.
I love that. All right.
Dead wrong. And also, let's look at it from Ripley's perspective, right? So she just has this traumatic thing where somebody she thought was a person, they weren't told, again, you talk about consent, they weren't told that they were going on a mission. It's not even a mission. It was supposed to just go back home.
Right.
But we're given these breadcrumbs about how bad the corporation screwed them. Right. They were, the science officer was replaced 2 days before they were supposed to go. So that leads you to believe that the corporation somehow figured out, oh, they're going to pass by this possible alien life form. Let's stick our synthetic on board who will follow orders. They knew exactly what was going to happen. So they stuck a synthetic on board. She finds out when his head gets bashed in when he's trying to kill her. And then she goes into, after killing the alien, she goes into stasis almost immediately. She wakes up much later in Aliens than she was supposed to, and then it gets immediately thrust on board this ship with another synthetic. I don't blame her reaction at all. And she's already mad at the corporation. She already doesn't trust them.
Yeah, but Lance Henriksen is such a badass. I'd be like, yeah, Lance is here.
Lance Henriksen was in this incredibly creepy Fox show. I can't remember if it was a spinoff or if it was just after the X-Files in the mid-90s.
Yeah.
And it was dark.
What was it?
He was great. It's called Millennium. Oh, yeah. It was dark, but it was really good. And it was supposedly about it was in the 90s. So it was about how the millennium was going to usher in a new era of darkness. And he was just creepy. I love Lance.
Yeah, Lance is great. Josh, I can't wait to talk more about AI. We kind of talked about it with Terminator, but nobody watched. So we're going to try it again because it's really important to talk about the mental health of AI. So tune in for our Wednesday episode where we're going to really dive into Ash, AI, mental health of AI, ethics of AI. We're really gonna get into it. Okay, so thanks as always for watching or listening to Cinemental and our coverage of Alien. If you liked this episode, please subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts. You can also watch clips of Cinemental on YouTube, where we'd love to hear what you would like us to cover next. You can also watch my companion series, The One Thing, where I take a deeper dive into screenwriting. I am going to do an Alien episode, so look forward to that. Both are available on the Large and in Charge channel on YouTube. Follow Dr. Josh Jones, America's Psychiatrist, on Blue Sky. This has been a Large and in Charge production. For Josh Jones, I am Jeff Jones, and we will see you on Wednesday.
I want you to hit me as hard as you can.